What's up, YouTube? I'm going to try to make a video just on my way home from work. And so that's why I have it placed. I'm trying to find the great placement. I don't want to come off as if I'm recording a video while I'm driving. You know, just because people may not like that. But anyway, um, one of the things I wanted to talk about, in the whole robotics type of thing, AI is getting big, robots. Um, I think robots can show us um, God's story. Um, I think God shows us a lot about Himself in the Bible, obviously, but it doesn't show us everything. Of course, we know that the Bible, is not an exhaustive book on everything there is to know about God, but it definitely um, gives us a good picture of what God is like. But I think also robots can show us that, one, we ourselves are not robots in the same sense of as we think of the word robot. Um, I wouldn't call us robots at all. We are creatures made in the image of God, even though I guess, comparing to robots, we were made just like, robots are made, but yet, we were made by God. Robots are made by us. But, I think there's so many things going on that I think one of the things that robots kind of tell us is that, we are also just showing the reality of God, in that God, He made us, and now we choose, we are choosing, in a way, to make robots. Now, obviously, we didn't put it to a vote. I think, it would be kind of interesting to see, how robots have developed, over time. Just because, it was a process of one person building on maybe another person's work, or one idea that we could say God really put that idea into someone's brain, in the whole concept of creation. Now, obviously, why wouldn't, if scientists are so, engulfed in evolution, why wouldn't scientists, wait for robots to be evolved? It's kind of silly, but, why wouldn't they, wait for robots to naturally occur? Excuse me. It's because, they know, like Romans chapter 1 and 2, they know the truth about God, that God created us, but they deny the truth. They suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Excuse me. Sorry, I got the sniffles. I'm not sick, but my nose is just kind of itchy. But anyway, I think robots can tell us a lot about, how God wanted someone to be made in His image, and how we, have made robots sort of in the image of people, or also in the image of God, in a way. But we also make robots sort of in all different shapes and sizes and forms as well. But going on to say how, I think one of the things that God is sort of doing is letting creation sort of tell about Himself. And there's never been robots, in the past before. And so I think one of the things that God is sort of showing through all the different inventions and the things that take place on this earth could possibly be, I don't know for sure, because the Bible, I don't think, doesn't really say too much about that, but specifically how the things that are being invented, excuse me, and the things being done tell us about who God is and what His plan was. Now, I think one of the roadblocks that, robots can pose is the whole story of obedience. I mean, when you think about, if they do develop robots and the robots get some sort of consciousness, the robots get some sort of self-awareness, which I think they're pretty close to. One of the things that I think robots will teach us is that even man cannot control its own creation. And I think that's goes hand in hand with how God tells us how things transpired here on this earth. Is that, not that God wants to control every little thing that we do. That's not really what the Bible describes, but He does want us to control, some of the decisions that we are making, and controlling sin, and controlling, the bad things that we may feel like we want to do but choose not to. And so I think a lot of the movies that are about robots do show kind of a prediction. And I think robots and movies in general can teach us about how, where this creation story is going, and where, the human race can go. I mean, in a lot of movies, we've already predicted, things that are sort of a person's plan for creation if God lets us go on for years and years and years. I think we have already predicted a lot of what is going to take place on this earth. And in that same way, I think that's how God, shows us what is going to take place, because He knows what He wants creation to go like, and He's already set the record straight of how it will go. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say about robots. I think in general, robots are kind of cool. If I could afford one, and of course, I don't think they're fully ready yet. I think they're still working on them, even though they've shown videos of, great leaps and bounds as far as the capability of robots, but they're not collectively complete yet. And I think this goes to show, a little bit about the human race, is that when we are born and grow up in this earth, we can sometimes think that, hey, we're complete, we're ready to go. But yet, we still have so much further to go as far as, God's plan for our bodies and for our spirit. If you don't have faith in Jesus Christ, you're not even at the minimum. You're not even going to be saved in the end. You won't have a continuation in your life. And so that's the minimum, is to have faith in Jesus Christ. But also, God is doing so much in our lives as far as renewing our mind, helping us to think like God thinks, helping us to have a recreated spirit, have a body that is a resurrection body once we die and rise from the dead. And we have no clue so much about the plans that God has for us as far as eternity is concerned, I mean, even thinking about that, I think there's so much that we can look forward to when you think about just the little part of, 7,000 or 6,000 years that we have been on this human race. on this earth in the human race, we have to think that, wow, God probably has so many good plans. When you think about all of the steps that God has taken in order to save us, and all the great things about earth, and what we're told about heaven, there are some great things ahead. And maybe I don't have to hold this. Hopefully you can hear me pretty good. I usually like to hold this up so it's clearer. But anyway, when you see robots that are half made, it goes to show that, we as human beings sometimes think we're already ready to go. We're already good to go. Let's start building, let's start creating, let's start procreating. Let's start, running with our life and dying and entering into eternity. When in reality, we are halfway there. We're not even, probably many of the people on this earth are not even halfway there. They still need faith in Jesus Christ. And even after you come to faith in Jesus Christ, there's still things that you have to do. I know I had faith in Jesus Christ younger, at a young age. Excuse me, but that still didn't mean that I was where God wanted me to be. And I think many Christians are like that too. And so that's what I could say about that in relation to robots. And so, talking about robots, I think I plan on getting a robot if I could afford it again. But I do think that, people are running headlong into, God's plan for eternity. And it's almost like people just don't even care anymore. Now, I do think people still care at this point in life. But it's getting to the point where, it's like people, don't really care too much about what the decisions that they're making, or if there's a God, or whether they spend eternity in hell. It's like people don't care whether they spend eternity in hell. And that is concerning. That's concerning right there, because I know there's nothing that I can do in this world, whether sin or, goodness in some way, that will make hell worth it. Now I know there's a mindset that I can sort of have as far as being deceived and sort of deceivingly thinking, if I do this one sin, eternity in hell is going to be worth it. But, that's what makes hell so crazy, is the eternity part, not so much the contents of hell. It's more along the lines of the duration of hell, that, I can't find any sin, at least in my own mind, that makes it worth it. Now, I know a certain person may have, their own proclivity to sin and their own reasons for why they want to continue to do what they want to do and reject Jesus Christ. But, a lot of these things still hold, a mystery, as far as lawlessness is a mystery as far as the Bible is concerned. And my phone is falling over, so maybe if I put it like right here. So lawlessness is a mystery, and that's what the Bible says. It says the mystery of lawlessness is already at work, but he who now restrains it will do so until he is taken out of the way. Then the lawless one will be revealed. So, wow, my phone headphones came out. So, let me see if I can put my headphones in. Okay, maybe you can hear me now. Sorry about that. My headphones must have came out. But the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. And so, I just think, robots are great, but I think that they are leading to, more of a lawless type of lifestyle, because God is the one that keeps us all glued into place. Even though I guess on one hand we could be like, oh God, why don't you let me do what I want to do? But I know that I'm grateful for there being a God when I run into someone who is doing what they want to do and I'm more victimized because of it. And so it's always easy to think of, God suppressing what we want to do, but it's always a little bit harder to think of God as protector or protecting us from, destruction. And so I think, the new inventions, new technology is a great thing. I use the new technology, but I think, there are some warnings that I think we can all, as Christians, learn a lesson from. I don't think there's any stopping some of this at this point, just because, I can't foresee, anything that would really stop it unless it's sort of banned in a country, like, if America sort of banned all robots, which I highly doubt that America would do, because, many of the people, they don't see a real problem with robots. But, we assume that everyone who's making these robots are level-headed or upright in some way, We never assume that someone who's making the robots are crazy or are bent on evil. And, they also have a sort of, awareness or smartness to them that makes them kind of dangerous in order to build robots. But anyway, this is some food for thought. I think robots can be very helpful. I know that sometimes, hey, if I'm upstairs in my house and I want a glass of water, I know that it would be great to be like, asking the robot, like, hey, can you go get me a glass of water? I think that would be great. I know for many farmers, I think if they don't want to, work out in the field, I think having a robot that can farm for you, work out in the field, plant crops, gather up crops. I feel like that would be a great thing. Almost any and everything that you could think of, having a robot that, isn't really alive, but it's not dead, I think would be a great thing. And so, is this how we get things done in heaven? I don't know. In heaven, we don't really have pain or tiredness. That's at least what the Bible hints at, is no more pain, no more sorrow. And so there may not necessarily be a need for a robot in the same way we think of robots. I know we can think of robots today as, they need to lighten our burden of work, and I think that's great. But like I was saying, when the whole economy is run by robots, and we're really just giving these CEOs way more power, and it's actually a crazy thing. And I don't think the government can control it, that's why I think I saw a video talking about how we're past the point of no return. And I think that's sort of true, not to be scary, but it's just like, why would you create that? Why would you make that and also have no regulations on how or the type of robot that you're making. And, I can see the plus and the minus of it, but I think the plus side of it is too great to resist for someone to make it. And so they're like, hey, I got to make this robot, this humanoid robot. And, now I can not have to worry about human employees anymore. I can run my whole McDonald's through robots. I can run my whole, look at the McDonald's now. We don't even get to, we don't even have to talk to anyone to take our order anymore in McDonald's. We use a little kiosk unless you're going through the drive-thru. But if you go inside, you use a little computer to take your order. But I was telling my wife, Shadrika, I was like, babe, we're getting close to that time where it's like WALL-E, that kids TV movie. It's a movie called WALL-E, where in this movie, everyone is just sitting in this hover chair, and this chair is just hovering, and they have robots doing everything else. Like, if they want food, the robot gets some food. If they want to do something, they have a robot doing it. And it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's sort of where we're headed to. But the Bible also describes, some very negative Antichrist type of things that happen. The movie Elysium with Matt Damon. When you talk about a police robot, humanoid robot, that can arrest you, that can, brutalize you, and it's just a robot. Talk about shortage of police. Well, they won't have a shortage of police anymore. They'll have tens of thousands of millions of robot police. And now they can blame it on a malfunction for anything crazy that the robot does. Oh, sorry, this robot just malfunctioned. Oh, sorry, it was just a glitch, This robot killed a person and, now it's just a glitch. And, we'll decommission that robot, or, we'll destroy that robot, but we have 10,000 other robots here on the street. And so, this is why I was saying we're kind of past the point of no return. But I think that, it's going to take a while for it to develop. I could see it, developing at least within a year, maybe within 2 years or so. They'll probably already have robots out there. I think we'll start seeing more and more of them. I don't know. I've given more years. I'm not an expert to predict anything. But, I know it took about 15 to 20 years to get to this point when I did a little bit of research on it. I remember seeing robots, I think, in middle school in Seattle when I went to a middle school in Seattle. And I remember seeing robots, kind of up in that area. It was a little show that came to my middle school. Well, they were showing kind of the latest tech, but now that tech is ancient. I remember when they were showing electric cars. I think they had a little bit of electric car that came, or it was a solar powered car. It was a solar powered car. And I can imagine that they would have a solar powered car, in 5 or 10 years. But it really makes you think sometimes, because they want something that can make money. I saw a water powered car back when I was in middle school. Water power. But yet, they may not release some of this stuff if they feel like it can't make them money. The thing about gasoline is that we have to keep going to the gasoline pump in order to get gasoline. But imagine if they came out with a car that you never had to fuel. How are they going to make money other than just the initial purchase of the car? But I imagine, if we add up how much we pay for gas over time, it probably adds up to 3 or 4 cars, when you really think about it. But, all of this can be kind of angering or concerning. But I love how God, invites us into his kingdom. I love how God is so kind to make us and invite us into a place called heaven, and then the new heavens and the new earth, where righteousness dwells. Where you won't see a guy on a YouTube channel talking bad about God's economy or, some messed up stuff going on. You probably won't see that, You won't see blatant inequalities throughout the land, other than maybe someone losing their rewards because of, wrong behavior or something. I know there is talk of loss of rewards when you get to heaven. And I pray none of us have too big of a loss of rewards, if any at all. I recommend, bringing your sins and bringing your struggles before God. That's what I try to do. I try to stay free from sin. I try to confess the mistakes that I make, and talk to God about things that I'm struggling with or temptations that I'm having. And so that's some things that we can do to combat a loss of rewards. But anyway, going to heaven, I love how God invites us into his family for anyone who's interested. Now, for those who aren't interested, they're really digging their own grave, and that's on them. I don't think God sends anyone to hell, because of being forced to sin, or, for some mistake or some situation that they could not get out of, but yet they wanted to choose Jesus. The Bible says nothing can separate us from God's love. Not Satan, not demons, not life or death. There's nothing in all of creation that can separate us from God's love. And so even people in the worst conditions, I believe, can put their faith in Jesus Christ and also expect him to change the situation that they're in and call on Jesus' name in order to be saved. And so, anyway, thanks so much for checking out this particular episode on robotics. Like I said again, I would buy a humanoid robot if I had the money, or if they made it in such a way that it was affordable. I think definitely I would get it, but we all know that, things like that are going to take a while until it comes down to an everyday affordable type of thing. I've seen on Shark Tank plenty times that some products they just don't invest in because they know that it's not going to be for everyday people, and it's just going to be for the everyday wealthy. And so, not that I have something against the everyday wealthy. I don't. God's blessed them. God's ultimately in charge of everything. But I'm just saying that it could be a while until everyday people get to see a robot other than a robot possibly taking their job. That's good, how we could possibly see it. But I think that's nothing to worry about, even though I have a job that a robot can take, so I'm laughing, but at the same time, it's very serious But I think also God is very serious about getting us to heaven in the rapture. And that's what I call the event of the rapture, is God taking the church to heaven before the tribulation. And so thanks so much. Hopefully this was helpful to someone. Hopefully you got something from it. And I will talk to you on the next one. See ya.